The Granolah arc is the latest arc in Dragon Ball Super, and it is now completed today. Today is a very special day because it is the first time in over a year that I get to read a complete Dragon Ball arc, not knowing anything. This is something that I have kind of been waiting for a very long time. I've missed Dragon Ball, I really have. It's been a bit of a challenge to not just go back and touch it for this long, but I'm excited for today. I've heard some bad things about the Granolah arc, I've heard some good things, but overall I have no idea what happens. I stopped myself from reading around halfway through because I really wanted the experience of knowing what it would be like just to experience modern Dragon Ball fresh without any spoilers, because for the entirety of Super's runtime I never really got to do that. I was primarily focused around content creation around the topic and never really immersed myself as much as hopefully I'm about to do right now. The thing about especially modern Dragon Ball is that you pretty much know what you're gonna get. It's funny, it's pretty formulaic, it's got some cool moments, and in some ways I do think it holds up to the stuff of the past. So before we dive in, I do want to address, for anyone who was confused or interested about what happened to the 10-hour long Death Note video, it actually just got hit with copyright, so big surprise there, but I will be working to get that back up whenever I can. But for those of you who saw it, you may be the only people in the world who will ever see that. The video took a solid couple of months to make and then just got hit with copyright, so I mean that's just the way it is. Of course I'm going to try and get it back up for anyone who is interested, but I understand that it's just not my audience. So today is about Dragon Ball, something that I have been waiting for a very long time, and the only place to start is at the end of the Moro arc and right at the end of chapter 67. The first appearance of Granolah has him infiltrating a spaceship in which his job revolves around the pursuit and capture of OG-73. This is a small, tiny, minuscule, barely even a tie-in to the last arc, but it is something that Dragon Ball Super should do more of, and even though it doesn't really amount to much long term, one thing that Toriyama's Dragon Ball did very well was it led from the Saiyan saga to the Frieza saga, even to the Cell saga, to the Boot. It all led very well into each other, and Dragon Ball is definitely at its best when it does that. And even though 7-3, no one really cares, it is nice to have some tie-in there to the last arc. Granolah is shown to be a fairly skilled individual, taking on hordes of enemies at once. He is nowhere near the strongest in the universe, but he is competent and he is strong. The story of Granolah revolves around revenge, the Saiyans, and Frieza. It always somehow comes back to Frieza. Once again, I'm reminded that where we're at in the timeline, Dragon Ball Super has been a thing for almost a decade, and we're still not past where the end of Z left off. Still hanging around in that 10-year time skip that was supposed to be times of peace, but apparently a lot is going on. While Granolah is having flashbacks of the Saiyans tearing apart his home planet, it cuts to Goku training with Whis. Ultra Instinct is now his primary focus opposed to Super Saiyan Blue or any other levels of a Super Saiyan transformation. Still not enough to compete with Whis, he gets slammed to the ground and it is revealed that there are different levels of Ultra Instinct. Goku must develop his own style of Ultra Instinct, and only then could he attain a higher level. All the while, Vegeta is over there with Beerus, Goku's taking on more of the angelic role of Ultra Instinct, and Vegeta is taking on the role, or the advice, of Beerus. Ultra Instinct is not the only technique of the gods. Vegeta is now being semi-mentored by Beerus in a way that makes him more akin to a destroyer opposed to an angel. It is here we get to see a one-on-one match between the God of Destruction Beerus and Vegeta himself. This is a fairly one-sided battle. Vegeta tries his best, but he cannot get a single touch on Beerus. Beerus grabs him by the arm, puts his hand to his chest, and hits him with the Hakai, giving Vegeta a godly piece of advice saying, before creation comes destruction. It is from here that Vegeta would take that in his stride. Whis had always been paying more attention to Goku ever since he learned Ultra Instinct, and ever since Vegeta kind of gave up on it, he's kind of just been floating around aimlessly. Now he has a purpose and a goal. As the official name of the arc is the Granolah arc, Granolah has to have some sort of appearance at some point, and to be honest, I find these new characters such as the Heaters or Granolah himself, I don't find them as interesting as Goku, Beerus or Vegeta. It's just the way it is. I think the older characters, there's a reason they keep bringing them back. In this arc at least, it seems like these new villains or these new characters that they introduce, it's like they're not as interesting as the ones that have been built up for decades upon decades upon decades at this point. Granolah returns to his planet where he lives with a single Namekian, a Namekian who has created a set of Dragon Balls that require only 2 balls. Only requiring 2 balls does not make this dragon any less powerful, and so Granolah gathers these 2 balls, wishes to become the strongest in the universe, to gain revenge on Frieza and the Saiyans, who had put his entire race on the brink of extinction. Once getting this wish, Granolah's hair grows down to a Super Saiyan 3 length, and it is also a point that to become the strongest in the universe, the only way this can be done is to shorten his lifespan down to only a couple of years. Granolah had pretty much killed himself for the ability to gain ultimate power. This wish does actually work. All of the training, all of the hours and grinding that Goku and Vegeta have done with the gods, it has been superseded in an instant by Granolah. It diminishes the value of what these characters have worked their entire lives for to get to this level just to be superseded. In some ways, I do like it because the person who attained this power is Granolah, someone who is fairly new, doesn't have a huge backstory, and it would be different if it was, say, Frieza who wished for this power. That would be bad, but because it is Granolah, someone who is so new and so fresh and does have a purely single-minded focus on getting revenge of the Saiyans, if it was going to work for anyone, it would be a character like this, and to some extent I do understand, coming off of a character like Moro, who was this galactic warlord who had been locked away for years and years and years, and then to go to Granolah, who's just almost a kid, relatively. How else were they realistically going to power him up? Training wouldn't cut it, and we just came off someone like Moro, so to have someone else like Moro again hiding away somewhere also would feel a bit weird. It does feel at first like a cop-out, but because it's Granolah, it is easier to just let it slide. He's kind of like Mirus from the last arc. The story leads on and plays on the theme that this is a story about fate. Goku, Vegeta, and Granolah are all going to be intertwined when they meet. Their destiny is bound to each other. Having both of their civilizations destroyed by Frieza, Granolah doesn't understand exactly what went down though. He still thinks that the Saiyans are evil, and so he sees them as no better than Frieza. This leads to a very heated, no pun intended, confrontation between them for the first time. When he sees them for the first time, he attacks on sight, and to no surprise, the strongest man in the universe does damage. He almost one-shots Goku. Their fight then goes on to span between a few chapters. Goku fights in Super Saiyan Blue, and then Ultra Instinct. Ultra Instinct Goku once again seems to be the most powerful thing ever. He gets the better of Granolah, at least for the first few seconds. The Granolah that Goku had been fighting is not even a real Granolah, it is simply an illusion. And so when the real Granolah comes, he pokes Goku, and this serves as another one-shot. Goku gets one-tapped in Ultra Instinct, seemingly the most powerful form of all time, has just gotten one-tapped by a man who wished to be the strongest person in the universe. In Granolah's mind, he doesn't see Ultra Instinct Goku as the most powerful person in the universe, even though at this point he probably is. Because he doesn't have the proper scaling, he can't tell what's weak and what's strong, and so when he one-taps Ultra Instinct Goku, he just sees it as a regular Saiyan, but he had just accomplished something that is insane. One-tapping Ultra Instinct Goku, even if it is through vitals, it is an insane feat, but he only sees Goku as a regular Saiyan, someone with a power level of 14,000. That's the reason why he was so confident in using an illusion, a clone, not his real self. He was saving his real self for Frieza, because he hasn't seen all that has happened throughout the story of Dragon Ball. He doesn't know Goku Ultra Instinct is the guy. If he can take down Goku, he can probably take down Frieza, but Granolah is so inexperienced, he simply doesn't know that. It is Vegeta's turn, and Vegeta has been doing a bit of investigating around the world and seems to understand where Granolah is coming from, but even still, he never tells him the truth. Vegeta's fight with Granolah is different. Of course, he doesn't have Ultra Instinct, and the last time we saw him, he was getting beaten down by Beerus. This was clearly foreshadowing Vegeta's new form, Ultra Ego, a purple-haired, eyebrowless form that he learnt from Beerus. This is his equivalent of Ultra Instinct. He states, "A god of destruction taught me that power derived solely from instinct is unbounded." This is the first appearance of Ultra Ego Vegeta, something that I was anticipating from pretty much the moment I saw Toppo from the Tournament of Power do something similar. Vegeta looked like he was destined for this role ever since he couldn't get Ultra Instinct. Once attaining this form, he beats Granolah down. However, as he states, Vegeta is not the only one who grows stronger the more he fights. Granolah almost has a type of Sharingan in one eye, And then he unlocks another one. This eye helps him pinpoint his accuracy immensely, and now all of a sudden he starts getting the better of Vegeta. Again, it seems like even though Vegeta is getting these immense power-ups in modern Dragon Ball, in the Moro arc he got something similar, not exactly a new form, but a new technique that really made it seem like he was going to win. Once again, he has gotten a new immense power-up that really made you think he was going to do something or win. But here we are, and Vegeta is about to die. As the story would have it, Goku comes in and saves him. This is kind of what I mean when I say modern Dragon Ball especially is very formulaic. It's like we had the exact same thing happen in the last few arcs, exactly it went like this. Goku comes in, Vegeta comes in, Goku comes back in, then something happens. It's very predictable, although I will say Ultra Ego almost makes up for it. This is something that had been needing to happen for a while now, a equivalent Vegeta form to Ultra Instinct. It's what he needed, it's what he has now. Unfortunately, it didn't get the job done, but we did get to see its debut, and from here on, it's probably only going to get stronger. All those ideas that we had going on in the past about Vegeta potentially being the next god of destruction after Beerus, if there was ever going to be one, he is definitely looking like the next in line now. And it also brings me back to a very long time ago. I don't think I've ever mentioned this, but it was kind of embarrassing, that's probably why I never have, but a very long time ago when I was first starting to make these Dragon Ball Z videos, this was before Super was really getting started, I was up here saying, well, I think Goku's ultimate form should be Goku with white hair. And here we are now. I think it's just kind of funny that we've come full circle almost. Like we're right here, Goku's final form is him with white hair. Anyway, as Granolah had been beating down both Goku and Vegeta in their prime forms, some backstory finally gets shed on why he is doing this. And for the first time, I believe canonically, Bardock, the father of Goku, is mentioned. Bardock! Someone who only appeared once before in a single panel of the manga over 30 years ago, he is now being brought back for this arc. The story flashes back 40 years ago to the home of Granolah and what it was like before the Saiyans invaded. It looks like a peaceful place with cars and buildings and plants, it looks great. When all of a sudden the Saiyans, who turn into these giant beasts, start destroying everything. They are killing off every member of this civilization. And Granolah is only a small child when he sees this giant Ozaru looking down at him from this torn roof in his building. It does not take long for the Saiyans to wipe out the entire civilization, however there is one Saiyan that remains. The one remaining Saiyan who stayed on this planet post-destruction was Bardock, the father of Goku. If you've only seen the Bardock Father of Goku special, you can probably tell that it deviates a lot from the Broly movie or what's happening in modern Dragon Ball. Bardock does seem to be a lot more of a compassionate individual opposed to when we first saw him in those OVA specials. Here he keeps flashing back to the birth of his son, and even here in front of a baby Granolah and his mother, he shows a lot of compassion towards them and actually ends up saving them. It's interesting because when Goku hears about this information, it's the classic Goku response of, wow, I guess that's cool, I don't really know my father though, so I don't really care. That's just classic Goku though, but Granolah though, upon finding out that not all Saiyans were bad and that actually his life was saved by the father of the men that he was trying to kill, he is getting conflicted. Now, I haven't spoken about any of these villains because I just think they're the most boring villains Dragon Ball has ever come up with. The Heater group are very uninteresting to me. I could always feel the arc slowly pushing us in their direction, and I was just hesitant to even talk about them because I didn't know if they were going to stay around very long, I didn't know if they were going to be the mainstay, but it turns out they are indeed the main villain of this arc. Granolah, upon hearing the story of Bardock, the father of Goku, starts to come around, and simultaneously, at the same time, the Heater group had gathered the two Dragon Balls on this planet and wished for one of their members, Gas, to become the strongest in the universe. That was their big plan. I guess everyone in this arc specifically, let's keep it confined to this arc please, everyone's wishing to be the strongest in the universe. So now, Granolah is no longer the strongest in the universe. It is this character called Gas. Gas just comes in and becomes the strongest guy there instantly. We don't really know much about any of these Heaters except that they work under Frieza and are attempting to overthrow him one day, and their ultimate plan was to rely on the Dragon Balls. Gas comes in, spears Granolah through the chest, reality warps weight around Goku so he can't move, bounds an axe and was about to chop him in half. However, Granolah has a sudden change of heart seeing all that had happened. He is now fighting on the side of Goku, Vegeta, and technically, the Saiyans. What happens to Gas throughout these fights is actually kind of interesting. Because you shouldn't just be able to wish to become the strongest in the universe, there are some side effects, and what happens to Gas is actually one of the more interesting ones. As the fight goes on, he is getting older. His fight with Granolah lasts a couple of chapters, but he turns into this rage mode where he gets extremely bulky and loses his mind. He is able to conjure up and manipulate reality, creating structures, shields, and weapons out of nothing. It's a bit of a different fighting style. At one point he slams a train into the back of Goku. Goku's fight with Gas happens when he's in Super Saiyan Blue, and he is teleporting around the galaxy, taking him to different locations, buying time for Granolah. This has to go down as one of the strangest Dragon Ball fights I think I've ever seen. I mean, we have two people who have wished to become the strongest against a version of Goku who is... I mean, you look at him and you think he should be the strongest, but he just isn't, and it's a weird feeling to read through. You have Goku, who has gone through all sorts of trials and tribulations, and he is not even close to being the strongest in this arc. Granolah is stronger than him, and so is Gas, and maybe even now Vegeta. It flashes back to Bardock, who also fought Gas many years ago to defend Granolah. This guy, Gas, seemingly has been around for all these years. He's just one big problem, and even Bardock was fighting him back in the day. During the flashback fight between Bardock and Gas, something big happens. The Eternal Dragon of this world is called upon, and the idea is to have Bardock retreat back to his home planet, but Bardock rejects that and casually states, "I'd wish that my son ends up thriving." After having said that, the Dragon Balls disappear, implying that Bardock wished for his son's success in thriving, and that everything that Goku had achieved was, in a way, down to that wish made by Bardock. Predetermined and unavoidable, Goku's life was always going to be a success because it was a wish. Despite being a low-class Saiyan and overcoming all obstacles thrown at him, Goku in the end wins, and it is implied to be due to this wish. Goku has a few statements saying, "I feel like I finally understand what Saiyan pride is about." Vegeta even gets a bit angry at this, that to think both the sons of Bardock, Raditz and Goku survived when they were young due to the wish of a Dragon Ball. He says it's not fair. Who ever heard of such pampered Saiyans? In a way, he was destined for all of this, but again, you could say, well, if Goku was destined for all of this, why wasn't Raditz? Why did Raditz die in one of the most horrific ways imaginable and Goku survived? To me, this came as a massive shock reading it for the first time, but this does not actually change that much. Goku's life still remains the same. Bardock wished for both of his sons to thrive. The fact that Goku did and Raditz didn't must mean something. If all of Goku's accolades were given to him due to a wish, then you have to ask, why didn't Raditz get any of those accolades? Goku must have done something on his own to merit all of his success. This was a very weird and risky thing to throw in this arc. This could have just discredited all of Goku's accomplishments and achievements, but the implication I am taking from it is that this wish allowed both Raditz and Goku to survive the destruction of planet Vegeta. Everything that comes after that is entirely on their own, or at least that's how I see it. Gas eventually makes his way back to Goku and Vegeta, and we get one of the coolest power-up panels in the last 30 years. Ultra Instinct Goku, standing next to a purple-haired, eyebrowless Vegeta, both looking colder than I've ever seen. This is Goku, and this is Vegeta, in their most powerful forms. It really makes you think. We have all this strongest in the universe talk from these randoms, but if Goku and Vegeta fused as they are in these forms, there would be nothing to worry about. Ultra Instinct Goku fusing with an Ultra Ego Vegeta, as long as that concept remains a figment in our minds, there's not really going to be any tension for any upcoming villain, at least for a very long time, unless something crazy happens. For now though, Goku and Vegeta tag team Gas, both jumping him at the same time. We get these really cool moments between Vegeta and Gas, Goku and Gas. While Vegeta is about to be knocked down yet again, Goku only goes into another form of Ultra Instinct and is now rivaling Gas. No matter how strong or what abilities Gas has, this whole fight just feels like an exhibition match. Gas isn't gonna win. While Gas may have defeated everyone around him, Vegeta, Goku, and even Granolah, while Goku is lying on the ground, the aura of Ultra Instinct, a Susanoo type Goku, emerges from his body, very similar to what happened in the previous arc with Moro. He picks up gas and pegs him into the atmosphere, throwing him into space, allowing Granolah to shoot with his pinpoint accuracy. This is seemingly the end of Gas and the end of Granolah, as he has just shortened his lifespan even more by firing off this attack. He thinks that Gas is dead, but that's not the case. An ancient, decrepit, mummified looking being with, oh my god, this guy looks disgusting. It's pretty obvious here that Gas's lifespan is about to run out. Despite how strong he is, he doesn't have much time left. Every second he is dying. His face is peeling off. He is becoming a skeleton when all of a sudden, a man drops down from the sky. This man is Frieza. Frieza was summoned here by the leader of the Heater group to be ultimately killed and tossed away by Gas, and you know, that's a reasonable assumption. Out of the three, Goku, Vegeta, and Frieza, you would naturally assume that Goku and Vegeta had become stronger. But what has just happened in this last chapter of the Granolah Survivor arc? Frieza, in his base form, one-shots Gas. And I can't help but feel that this is just symbolic for what Dragon Ball is. This one image speaks so much, almost as if it is saying, these new villains have nothing on the old villains. Frieza is the guy. He comes in, kills Gas, and you have this almost horror-type manga paneling where Gas is just becoming a skeleton in real time. Frieza, in only a couple of panels, has made this entire arc go from actually kind of mundane to some of the greatest stuff I've ever seen in Dragon Ball. Frieza comes down, instantly wipes out every one of these new villains effortlessly. He had been training for 10 years in a different dimension, attaining a new form, Black Frieza. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Black Frieza, training for 10 years in a different dimension, gains him his own unique form titled Black Frieza. To put some things into perspective, he also one-shots both Goku and Vegeta in their new most powerful forms, Ultra Ego and Ultra Instinct respectively. To put things into even more perspective, Frieza went from someone who was a Namek Saga level threat back in the days of Dragon Ball Z. He trained for 4 months and instantly caught up to everybody. He has now just trained for 10 years, more than 20 times that amount of time, in a different dimension, and is now one-shotting Ultra Instinct Goku and Ultra Ego Vegeta. He is the most powerful character in Dragon Ball right now, obviously excluding the gods. He doesn't kill Goku and Vegeta, but only lets them know how powerful he has gotten, because part of him likes the game. Also, he takes the 2 remaining hitters that he didn't kill and takes them as their assistants. Frieza is the guy, and that is pretty much the end of the entire Granolah arc. To be completely overshadowed by Frieza, it shouldn't be called the Granolah arc anymore. It should be called the Black Frieza arc. That was insane. That is a type of ending that just completely saves the arc. Granolah simply stays on his home world to help rebuild, and Goku and Vegeta simply go back with Whis, and that is the end of the arc. If Frieza didn't appear in these final moments, this probably would have been my least favorite Dragon Ball arc, I'm not gonna lie. This was kind of hard to get through sometimes. Gas and the rest of the heaters were not really my thing. However, this arc had so many good things that obviously set up for future events. Black Frieza, Ultra Ego, Ultra Instinct. The exciting thing about Dragon Ball right now is that at the end of the final chapter of this arc, there is a small little text box at the very bottom that says, "We are taking some time off to prepare for the next arc." I think this is definitely needed, and actually gets me excited because obviously the more time you take off, the better the story can be, and perhaps, finally, if they're taking this much time off, and with the new movie that just released, there's a good chance that we could see the story move past the end of Z pretty soon, and that gets me excited because reading through Dragon Ball Super is fun, and that's just it, and that's all it needs to be. However, if you want to take it to the next level, if you really want to make this mean something, you do have to push past pre-established lore, which is what that wall at the end of Z is. Now with Frieza being the main threat again, it almost feels like we're back to square one. Goku and Vegeta are powerful, but I'm not even sure if they fused, they would be able to beat this Black Frieza. Black Frieza is going to have them by the balls for who knows how long. Overall, I did enjoy my time reading this arc, not as much as I would have thought though. I think what happened was I read through the Moro arc, and I really enjoyed the Moro arc, and I just kind of wish that I could have experienced that all in one go instead of having to wait month by month. With this, I didn't get the same feeling as I did in the Moro arc, which is a shame, but Black Frieza, that in itself pretty much made up for almost everything. One thing Dragon Ball has always done really well when it wants to is it's always had really good cliffhangers when it wants to, and this is definitely one of these moments. I'm extremely interested in what they do next. Since I hadn't been keeping up as much as I had been in the past, honestly, I got no idea. I believe directly after this arc comes the new superhero movie, which is obviously the new movie that came out that revolves Gohan and Piccolo. But as for the manga content, they are now going on hiatus for a couple of months, probably until the end of the year. That in itself excites me a lot because I know what can be done. And the Granolah arc did just start immediately after the Moro arc, and maybe that did play a role in a little bit of its quality dip. It says a lot about the villains of this arc that I barely even mentioned them in this video. I mean, Gas, you had to mention him a little bit, but Frieza really just stole the show. And it does get me excited for future content coming for this series. Anyway, that's it.